My name is Bill Dixon. I'm a fourth-generation newspaper man and the owner, publisher, and janitor of the Tribune Recorder-Leader located at 43 South Elk Street in Sandusky. I can't remember a time that owning the newspaper didn't burn in my soul. Until I was the age of 9, I was raised to be the publisher of the Sandusky Republican Tribune, my grandfather and great-grandfather's newspaper title. I still remember when the decision was made to sell the newspaper outside the family in 1974. I was 9 years old, and I still remember how mad I was. I resolved on that day that I would somehow rise up through the ranks and take over the family title. Well, I guess I was 10 or 12 years old when I had my first paper route, and I joke now that I have my very own paper route. But yeah, I delivered the Times-Herald, the Free Press, and the Detroit News when I was a kid. We've always sort of had ink in the veins, so to speak. Sundays and Tuesdays were bad. Sunday was a big paper, and Tuesdays was when all the grocery store ads used to come out when I was a kid. And those, you could only put about 25 papers in your bike at a time, so you spent a lot of time going back and forth to your garage to load up with the papers. I think I had 80 papers on my route. The newspaper published for about 11 years until it was lost in 1985. And it did make my dream of resurrecting and owning the family title a little bit more difficult, but never ever dampened my resolve. Along came a time in 2003 when I believed that the resurrection of the Tribune was possible, and we were able to pull that off. Things went very well for us. We were welcomed back to the community with open arms through both readership and advertising support. Through that great community support, we're able to purchase the competitor newspaper in Deckerville in 2010, and also the competitor's paper in Marlette in 2014. We combined all three newspapers into a single title later that year in 2014, and we now have the Tribune Recorder-Leader located in Sandusky. In 2015, we were able to come back home to 43 South Elk Street on Sandusky's main street. And that was very rewarding, as that was the building that had previously been occupied by both my grandfather and great-grandfather. We have over 100 years of newspaper archives from each of the three titles that we enjoy. Oh wow, we're way over 1 million now. Way over 1 million newspapers published. I've been in business here for 16 years. We run approximately 3,000 copies a week. So if I'm better at words than math, but I'm sure that it's 150,000 or so a year times 16 years. So maybe we're up in the 3 million range. And the thing about newspapering, specifically the printed product, is there forever. That we have newspapers that date back to 1878 when when my grandparents and great-grandparents were involved in the business. It's a permanent record. It serves as a first draft of local history. I labeled newspapers and stuffed newspapers, and when my grandpa went offset in 1973, I actually pushed the button to start the printing press on the first web offset edition. I was 8. Our whole family life revolved around the newspaper business. Deadlines, news coverage, council, school boards, you name it. We had more about the newspaper that went on at our dinner table than just about anything else. There's been several iterations of print production here in Sandusky since I've been involved. A real long time ago, they did lead cast type, and a page of type would weigh 400 pounds, and it was called letterpress. In '73, we went offset. That was a big innovation that enabled us to do color work and streamline. It made better photographs in the newspaper, and now we do primarily everything over the internet. And it's sort of ironic that in my grandpa's generation, it was said that the radio would kill the newspaper. Turned out not to be true. In my dad's generation, they said that the television would kill the newspaper. Turned out not to be true. In my generation, it was said that the internet would kill the newspaper. Well, guess what? Turned out not to be true. It's the very thing that allows us to continue publishing. That most of our, at least the transmission of our newspaper pages, is all done online. That we print now in Big Rapids, Michigan, if you can believe that. It's 200 miles away. The computerization is the very thing that allows us to stay in business. It's not taking away from us whatsoever. The only thing it did take was employees. My great-grandpa had 33 people working here. We have 5. So computerization did save a bunch on labor costs, but that's all been taken up through increased printing costs and postage, of course. We really shine when it comes to covering local events like Thumb Festival or Country Christmas Parade or Country Fair Days in Marlatt or Deckerville Homecoming. We're knee-deep head first into all of that community coverage, and we really enjoy doing that. Thank you for your readership and patronage. It's truly our pleasure and privilege to serve you for years to come.